Today's guest is Dan Smith, who very coincidentally works for the Smith family, which I absolutely love when you tell that joke at events, Dan. But look, I'm super excited that you're here today and that you agreed to be on my podcast. I absolutely love the work that you do in our community and, ranging from communities for children over 7 years ago, getting involved there and leading that organisation, to your board position on CQ Shines up until recently in March 24, your history with Surf Lifesaving, your history with Scouts, one of my favourite places to be, just everything that you contribute to our community and the positivity that you put out there, and you truly do inspire other people to step up as well, which is quite a bit of an act. Not everyone has the ability to inspire other people to make a difference in our community, and you've got that. So I'm super excited you're here, and thank you so much for joining me.
No, it's a pleasure, and thanks for reaching out, Nyree. It's always, I guess, like many people know, that I'm always happy to have a yarn and talk about different things, but it's humbling to be reached out and have a yarn about this as well. But let's see if I can share some nuggets of gold and not too much coal.
I have no doubt that you'll be able to share a lot because, you do some great work and you just connect with so many amazing people, and you are an amazing person yourself. But first of all, I'm going to ask you a weird one. I would really like to know, if you could be an expert in anything at all in the world, what would it be and why?
Dare I say it, I've got my braces on, but brace yourself for this answer. I'd love to be an expert in decoding bad dad jokes, and the wisdom in dad jokes. For me, there's something magical in dad jokes and owning being a person who does bad dad jokes. Part of it's setting that expectation that if people are going to groan, they're going to groan with you and not at you, although sometimes they're groaning at you. But really, for me, that's sort of part of that breakdown of barriers, that sort of humour and self-humour and owning that sort of can bring people together, can relieve stress in situations and really help bind and connect people. And that's what it's all about, is having a bit of fun along the way as well. So for me, the dark art of capturing dad jokes and how and when to play that game.
I love that, and it aligns perfectly with the way you introduce yourself as well, because you do wear a lot of hats, and coincidentally your last name is Smith and you work for the Smith family, which is a fantastic organisation.
Well, there's even more in that, Nyree, too, because I'd own being a Smith. I was born a Smith back in 1999, married an unrelated Smith, Cindy, so I'm a Smith that married a Smith, and Arnie confirmed for me there was no crossover in the genealogy trees or anything like that, so that's all good. Been good fortune to bring 3 more Smiths into the world, and then for 7 years I've been working for the Smith family. Coincidentally, within the Smith family in the local office here, there's another lady that's a Smith by surname as well that's unrelated. So there's something about being a Smith.
Yeah, wow, that's awesome. Such a it's a very common name, for you to have it and find all of these people unrelated and then work for the organisation as well.
Even one of the earlier people that you interviewed, Alan Smith, but not related at all. So it's really an interesting sort of circles of association. You don't need 7 circles. If you're a Smith, there's probably closer connections than that.
For sure, for sure. So tell me, everything that you've achieved in life and where you are today, I'm curious as to what are those key moments or influential people that have helped shape your journey, and essentially created who you are today.
I guess part of the mantra that we talk about a lot in the work that we do in communities for children is that place matters, and what surrounds us sort of shapes us. So I reflect back to my mum and dad, Russell and Rosemary. They had a general convenience kiosk in Elliot Heads outside of Bundaberg. So that was very much sort of part of that fabric of community upbringing as well. They were very active in the Lions, the PNC, the Fire Brigade, like all of those sort of things as fabric of community things. So that's probably shaped a lot of, if you're going to be involved, if you're going to live in a community, that's been that upbringing to be involved in the community as well. Then, for me, I've got another large thing that sort of life's a journey, and along the way, all sorts of things happen that sort of make and shape who you are as you go along. So I reflect through to, I had the good fortune to do my first year of university in Bundaberg and then come to Rockhampton for 2nd and 3rd year. Part of that journey there, my dad passed away just over Christmas period in the 1st and 2nd year. I always blamed the adverts on the TV and the Test cricket that was on at the time. He sort of always fell asleep in the ads on the cricket when it came on. But in terms of lamenting that I didn't have Dad then to sort of shape much more beyond. So I always sort of have that sort of little bit of regret. Cat Stevens sort of has that lovely song that I used to listen to way back then. Find a girl, settle down. If you want, you can marry. It was really fortunate around that stage there to sort of find Cindy, and she found me, or vice versa. And she wanted somebody to make a good project of, and she's still working very hard some 25 years later. So that's definitely one of those things that sort of helped shape the things going forward. Was a great unit to work together and do some magic together as time goes on. And then we had the opportunity to go into business. We had a financial planning business together for a good sort of period of time, sort of 8 to 12 years, different things there. And that was sort of part of shaping us to, I guess, if we were going to be in business and look to work off our community, we wanted to be involved in our communities. There's a sort of business that could help us be involved in the P&C, being involved with the footy club, take on all those sorts of other roles and do things there. I think at one stage I was the footy club president, the referee, the first aid officer, and all those sorts of things. And that's publicly on the field. But Cindy was off the field where in the canteen and doing all those sorts of things as well. So we often lamented back then that if we just had to put our hands in our pockets and sort of donated $10,000 to the school and the footy club, we would have been far better off from a financial perspective, but not so much from the riches that came from getting involved in the community and sort of supporting things there. More recently, there's people all along the way. Like if I reflect on this, there's going to be people I forget along the way that sort of helped and shape, do different things. I recall a footy coach I had when I was sort of in under 17s and 18s, and he was sort of a great guidance and support. More recently, I look at the opportunities through work, and some of those opportunities I have now wouldn't have happened if I didn't go through some of the journeys we had in terms of experience in business and life. The work with Communities for Children is 7 years ago. I wasn't the first choice they appointed for that role, but I've turned out to humbly be a pretty good choice in terms of what's going on there. So it's been a great role to, I guess, really go to lots of meetings and do more than have a cup of coffee in the bicky. It's all that sort of network shaping behind the scenes. And as it turns out, that's sort of the stuff that I really enjoy, is that weaving of networks and connecting people and connecting systems and doing that works. That's probably my sort of reflections in that. But if I look back to the early things that sort of helped shape me, it was the involvement with the surf lifesaving movement, while we're at Elliot Heads. And then as I got a little bit older, it was the Cubs and the Scouts in terms of the scouting movement. Both of those sort of different communities taught me the value of service, respect, resilience. Scouting instilled that belief in doing what's right and being resourceful and facing challenges with courage. And then the surf lifesaving added that vigilance and service sort of thing, a deep responsibility community. And brace yourself is another bad sort of dad joke coming in, but sort of those early lessons still sort of guide how I shape up as a well-rounded person today. So online, you can't see the well-rounded sort of dad bod I have these days, but that's my tongue-in-cheek thing, that I'm not the typical bronzed Aussie with the lovely surf lifesaver body, but well-rounded individual today.
I love that. And I did enjoy hearing about your Cub and Scout journey when I first met you. So it was really great to have that connection. Whenever I have that connection with someone else, it's it's quite humbling. You can just
my brother actually got the Queen Scout Award when he went through Ventures. But for myself, I really enjoyed the Ventures and going right through. But Ventures ended up being on the same night that the rugby league was on, and for me that was the push pull. Ended up playing more sort of rugby league to sort of be with my mates and other things. So it's still involved in the family. Mum ended up being a Joey Scout leader, and Dad was a group leader for a period of time. All those roles they would never have sort of thought they'd end up doing, but there was a need there within the community, and they stepped up.
Yeah, that's amazing. And it's so great when adults enter the scouting movement, even if they've never been involved as a child or as a young person themselves, because it's, as you know, it's not just something that you can do as a child. It's something that your whole family can get involved in. And it does teach those skills of resilience and confidence building and leadership and teamwork and absolutely service and respect.
And honestly, Nyree, it's something there that I didn't really appreciate how much I valued and how much I took from those early grounding years. I had some coaching through work recently, so trying to find your own sort of story or your leadership story. And I really struggled to fill out the answers to all sorts of different surveys and responses. And then it sort of hit me in the face to own something and actually be proud of it, that I was shaped by those sort of movements. And once I've been happy and content in that, it's sort of really, it really makes sense. Like I don't have to fight in terms of sort of saying, hey, I wasn't that, but I was, and I can be proud of the values that have sort of come from doing that as well.
Absolutely. So thinking about like what you're doing now and the work that you're doing with the Smith family and in the community sector in particular, having owned your own business in a completely different field, like such as financial planning, What was that turning point that led you on this path and do that bit of a switch up between having that business yourself and then working in the community sector or not-for-profit sector?
It's an interesting journey. It was probably more a transition than a turning point there. When we had our business, we were still doing that purposefully to actually have time to be involved in a lot of things in community in terms of the PNC at the school, the footy club. If I was hopeful of being a good person, that would help with referrals and all of those sorts of things. And even the involvement with the Chamber of Commerce early when I was involved, and all of those things are coming from watching, and I guess in the same context of these stories, admiring other people doing those things in community. I remember when I was sort of starting out in Rockhampton, Rose Swadling, was a lovely lady there, and she's still a lovely lady now, but she was very supportive with our efforts at the Glenmore School, and even Dick McNevin, lovely elder statesman in community, sort of both took me, I won't say under their wings, but they definitely offered a lot of advice and support in terms of things we're doing in the school. That sort of kept on shaping, lots of other involvements as we went along. Went to a period of time after the lovely global financial crisis and different models and different plans and things came through. And I did a body of work with Ricky Jeffrey from Centacare at that stage. And we both had parents that were transitioning into the aged care environment, and a recognition there that maybe there was some extra work we could do together. And then we did that body of work. And then one day I was just having a cup of coffee yarn, just connecting with Ricky, and she just asked me if I'd look to do something different. And I was honestly just sick of watching the red and green triangles on the news and sort of trying to sort of offer reassurance to people when the markets were quite volatile, and wanted to do something different. So that started that journey into the community services sector more formally, rather than the volunteer passion projects that we'd been doing. And then I went into mediation, then into some place-based work, and ended up where I am with the Smith family. So there's all sort of little points along the way that sort of could have taken different directions, but what's meant to be is meant to be, and that's where I've been enjoying having my cup filled up with all sorts of different things in recent times.
You definitely do have a lot of variety and involved in so many different things, which is so good. How do you think, like being in the Rockhampton?
So I was just going to offer another insight there as well too, that throughout that time frame, when my children were much younger, I was probably more hands-on with a lot of my other roles in community. So I was very much doing the Bunnings sausage sizzles and sort of burning the sausages and doing those sorts of fundraisers. The footy club, I was more hands-on coaching and doing the things there in the first aid. But as time developed and we brought in other volunteers to do different things, there's other ways of being involved. And that's when I sort of started that journey more into the governance sort of side of things in terms of the more formal roles with the PNC's Queensland and being a chairperson for that peak body, finding my way through other things within the family to be on the consumer advisory groups for the health service and all of those sorts of governance things. So more the board role sort of started to gravitate as a transition as well. So it wasn't more a fork in the road. It was just more a recognition of, I still like to burn the occasional sausage at a fundraiser, but my skills could probably be used elsewhere perhaps.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the thing about serving in the community or volunteering or being involved in different things, is that you can, you start out wherever you start, because that makes sense. But, you can very quickly identify how your skill set can add value to, an organisation in a different way that's more specific to what they might need, particularly in that governance space. That's a real strength or an asset for an organisation to have a volunteer with that sort of skill set. So anyone that you are working with and have worked with is quite lucky to have that with your support. How do you think being in the Rocky region specifically has shaped the way you do give back and contributes to the community in the way that you do? How do you think Rocky specifically has aided that?
It's a really good question. I don't know what it hasn't done, because I actually haven't been too many other places other than Rockhampton when we decided to put our roots down and raise the family. For me, Rockhampton, it's just more than the place. Like, I know here we made the choose to put our roots down and raise the family here. I think there's, as other people have said before, it's big enough, but it's small enough. It's close to the coast, but it's sort of close to the highlands as well. So I think it's got a lot of diversity there for us. I think it's got an understated sense of multiculturalism in terms of many, many other communities that perhaps some people don't sort of see and appreciate sometimes. So really, for me, there's the power there for people to get involved in all sorts of different things. And just because you don't know what somebody's doing doesn't mean they're not doing something in a small way that has bigger ripple effects in terms of what's going on. So really, I think it's about sort of people showing up, having that empathy to help out other people, having a bit of fun along the way, and just sort of being good opportunities to be good citizens in the community. For me, that's something I enjoy, is that citizenship and helping out.
Yeah, that's awesome. So community contribution is that citizenship and that sense of belonging where it is that you're living and raising your family.
Back at university, there was the student association had a motto about sort of fostering a sense of belonging, and that also sort of sticks with me now as well.
I love that. And it's really important to feel like you're part of something bigger than just yourself.
That's part of it. I think that's the biggest stuff, Nyree, is that there's always something else going on. We don't know that the ripple effects of who we talk to or who we're kind to or how things sort of bounce along.
Absolutely agree. So what do you think has been, or what do you think, what do you know is either your biggest challenge, your proudest moment, or a really meaningful lesson that you've learned in your entire journey that's really influenced your perspective? It can be one or it can be many.
There's so many learnings along the way. Part of it is that sometimes you have really well-intended people get involved in things that perhaps they don't have the full skills and capacity to do. So you need to try and harness them where their skills can best be utilised, so that they don't, I want to make sure this sounds the right way, that they don't do any harm to themselves or the work they're trying to do. We want to make sure that the roles people do are the best roles for them to be involved in, not just because there's somebody with a pulse that sort of can be used as volunteers. And I hope it comes across the right way. So there's a real learning there about how we can best utilise the skills and talents of people who are available at that time. Another one is a recognition that often, if you're looking to influence change in the community, often you don't have that absolute power to sort of say yes or no. It's about building connections and trying to influence things through connections. When if you're the business owner, you can say yes or no, and this is going to happen to a certain extent. Whereas if you're working in volunteer capacities in community, you don't have that implied authority or power. So you need to work through connections, relationships, trying to work along those lines. The other one too is, I guess, not everybody can be involved in the same way at the same time. They might volunteer for an event you might have, but they can't be involved long term. So it's about recognising how to enlist and shape people's involvement in the best way when they're available, so that you don't burn anybody out and you encourage them to sort of bring other people along that journey as well. Now, does that work all the time? Definitely not, but that's the intent in terms of trying to mobilise people and have a bit of fun along the way. That's probably the other big lesson, is that there's nothing that's ever so important that you can't have a laugh and a joke while you're sort of doing the work.
Absolutely agree. And I think that's it's quite a skill to be able to navigate a volunteer's availability and skill set with a bit of flexibility and fun. And it's really good that, you see that for what it is. And I really love that you called out the real challenge that does exist, where you've got well-intentioned people who don't necessarily have the skill set that's needed. And when you do use them, for example, in a volunteer capacity, it could actually do damage to their own self-confidence or to the organisation if they're not able to fulfil what it is that you actually need. It's easy to think, oh, you shouldn't be so picky because it's volunteer, but you actually do need to be. And I don't think that's talked about enough, because if somebody has a bad experience volunteering because they don't actually have the skill set for what they're being asked to do, it might put them off for a long time. It could be months, years, or for the rest of their life. And yeah, I think it's the role that you have in the community and the different organisations that you work with and the not-for-profits, like, you've got that skill where you can see that about people and you can help guide and mentor and, shift them to where they need to be. And as you said, make those connections.
I want to say something, and I hope it doesn't come across as too sort of, it's definitely not big noting, but you have sort of said that that's part of the dark art of that network weaving and sort of helping people build their own capacity and get to a stage that's the right time for them to be doing that type of positioning. And part of that is the authenticness in the conversation. So if you've got a little bit of humour, but it's part of your authentic self, it makes having those sorts of conversations with people sometimes a little bit easier to bring through to fruition. And people have told me that that's something that I can do. So never ever comfortable. And it's like that old analogy too. Sometimes you sort of see the duck on the pond, and on top of the pond, it's looking very, very calm. But behind the scenes, another thing that it's, the little legs are going very, very madly and sort of they're very much out of balance. And internally, that's sometimes how I feel, but externally, people are telling me it looks very calm above the water as well. So part of the game, but that's probably one of those learnings and being comfortable with yourself over time and owning your own skin in terms of how you sort of get shown to the public.
Yeah, absolutely. So what,
Yeah.
like every day you keep getting up, you keep going, you keep pushing forward, you keep juggling all of the different things that you juggle. What drives that? And and like not only what drives that, but what advice would you give to the next generation who are coming along after us as to how they can, make a difference in this world, whether it be small, big, or astronomical?
I think we're all part of the bigger story. Yes, we've got the what's in it for me, but what's in it for somebody else? Everybody's got their passion project. Everybody got their things that's important to them. Sometimes I feel we can think too deeply about things and just sort of maybe we should go with the flow and sort of see where it takes us. But really, I'd like to see us sort of leaving where we are now in a better place for our children and the others that are sort of coming after them as well. I reflect back to my little slogan I had from the financial planning business that life's a journey. It's an important one. Don't plan to just get by, plan to prosper. So that can mean so many different things to different people. But for me, it's all about the journey. But don't plan to just keep your head above water. Try and take a few extra strokes along the way. As part of sort of unpacking that further, for me, that curiosity sort of helps a lot, sort of be really curious. If you're phrasing things in a curious way, it sort of helps you get through all sorts of awkward situations by natural curiosity and seeking to understand and learn. That be kind. Everyone be kind. Like we don't know what somebody's gone through just before they've come to talk to you. So keep your headspace in neutral and just remember it doesn't have to be something huge and big. Like it's lots of little steps along the way can make a big difference. And people may lament in some of the meetings I facilitate, but sometimes I close them by thanking from their contribution, and everybody's little contribution today might be like a raindrop, and from many raindrops sort of come big, wonderful, beautiful waterfalls. So I got lots of little sayings like that might be in a book of Smitherisms that might come out one day. But that's another one I just sort of think of in the moment, that everybody's small interactions at the moment combine and add up to something beautiful as well.
I do love that, and I love your Smitherisms.
Yeah, I guess the other one, we can't let it go too, that just don't ever forget that a dad joke with a groan or two can help change the world as well.
Absolutely agree. You can lift the mood and change the direction and get some people to loosen up just a sec while they work on whatever it is that we're there to work on. Well, I would like to say a very big thank you to you for
Yeah.
joining me today.
Very true. But no, thank you so much for the time. It's been a pleasure to talk with you and share some of these sorts of stories. Some of them I've thought about very deeply, and other ones just sort of came to me as we were talking. So I hope it's come through naturally.
Yeah, absolutely has. Yeah, and I really appreciate your time and for being here today and sharing a little bit about you and sharing it with the Rocky community. And I look forward to when everyone's able to jump on and hear your story.